She cheated on me with this guy multiple times.
I want to understand the nature of this relationship.
I know as my dad to not be my dad.
Oh.
Who's the daddy, Chantel?
I cheated one time and
1 minute Corey the daddy, next minute I'm the daddy.
There's a lot of doubts.
Nobody never told me anything.
You got to grow up before you can step up.
I'm just this bad person.
no matter, a struggle does not make a crab.
And we got to grow up.
My ex to be with him.
Hey, these children got to eat.
Ms. Johnson and Ms. Davis attend court to determine if Mr. Johnson is their biological father. At their mother's funeral, a different man claimed to be their father. Mr. Johnson ruthlessly admits to having paternity doubts, but wishes to clarify 25 years of questions. Another man outside the courtroom also suspects Mr. Johnson could be his father.
Everyone, Ms. Johnson and Mrs. Davis, you are here in court today to finally find out if the defendant is your biological father. You both claim at your mother's funeral a different man approached you and announced he instead is your father. Mr. Johnson, you admit you've always had doubts about your children's paternity, but say...
Mr. Johnson was asked if he had knowledge of their mother being unfaithful, or if someone else could be the father of Ms. Johnson and Ms. Davis. Mr. Johnson confirmed he had suspicions, as she told him directly about her unhappiness and her connections with other men while he was working.
Depends on the
Mr. Johnson, did you ever hear anything about their mother cheating, that someone else could be the father?
Yes, Your Honor.
You did?
Yes, Your Honor.
What did you hear specifically?
Actually, she actually told me.
She did?
Yes, Your Honor.
What did she say?
You know, she would tell me, you know, I'm unhappy. You're not spending the time with me. Da, da, da. And she would go off and be with these, you know, these other guys.
Mr. Johnson affirmed that he raised Ms. Johnson and Ms. Davis on his own. Even though he had doubts about being their biological father, he stepped up to the responsibility. He mentioned that their mother had told them another man was their father, but he was there when they were born and during the 9 months of pregnancy.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that would be you, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Your Honor. I asked
So
for
she
no...
relinquished her parental rights.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so, Mr. Johnson, you raised these children on your own.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've been honest and said you had doubts.
Yes, Your Honor.
And yet you raised these girls as your own,
Yes, Your Honor.
accepted this responsibility.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson revealed that he offered money to the girl's mother in hopes of encouraging a mother-daughter connection between them. He stressed the importance of his daughters understanding the dynamics of their family, noting his son had witnessed it firsthand.
You're saying when you had the girls, you wanted the girls to see her
Yes, Your Honor.
and spend time with her so they could have a mother-daughter
Yes, Your Honor.
connection.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so you would have to say to her, I'll give you money
Yes, Your Honor.
if you spend time with them.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh.
The individual is discussing his sisters and the doubts surrounding their paternity. He notes that he can see his father in his middle sister, Ms. Johnson, but not as much in Ms. Davis. He becomes emotional while speaking, and Judge Lake comforts him, indicating the sensitivity of the topic. Did the DNA result make him feel better?
Tell me what you know exactly about the doubts surrounding their paternity.
There's a lot of doubts. My middle sister, I can see my father.
That's Miss Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't see your father.
No, ma'am.
And that hurts you to have to say. I can see that. And I can imagine for all three of you, it's difficult when one family member seems to be singled out, or why is there a difference when we're all family and we all love each other equally?
Ms. Robinson's life was shaken hard when she discovered that another man, Mr. Thompson, claimed her paternity. Confused with this situation, she came to court with the man whom she believed was her father, and now she badly needed answers today.
Mr. Thompson, you've dragged the defendant, Mr. Fresneda, to court to prove that you, not he, fathered Ms. Jasmine Robinson. You've never met Ms. Robinson, but say today you'll prove she's yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Fresneda, you were married to Ms. Robinson's mother and claim today's DNA test results will confirm that you are the biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Thompson quickly stated that when Mr. Fresneda was away, her mother was sleeping with him, and they quit their thing when Sonia got pregnant. But his family members insisted that he resembled Ms. Robinson. Upon this, the judge asked Ms. Robinson about her brought up.
I would have never expected that my dad, that I know as my dad, to not be my dad because he never treated me no different. So I would have never suspected.
Now, he says he heard things from your family members. You've never heard those murmurings, whispers through the grapevine?
Nobody never told me anything. They just left me in the dark. Nobody said nothing to me.
I have to say that learning about your paternity doubt at 29 years is not a good thing. And taking this much time, the plaintiff shared that after her mother's death, it was her choice that Mr. Fresneda would raise her daughter. Then, Ms. Robinson shared how she discovered her potential father.
2010, he had messaged me on Facebook. The first message and was like, hey, tell your mom that I said hi. But I just brushed it off. I'm like, my mom has her own Facebook page. It's just somebody that she knows. So I just left it alone. Didn't say anything about it. And then 5 years later, in 2015, he had reached out to me again. I have a copy of the Facebook message.
I'd like to see that. Ron, can you please pass me the evidence?
For sure, she would have never taken it seriously, and it could be a pathetic joke. But this wasn't a joke, as Ms. Robinson shared it with her aunt, and to her shock, she was informed of the same story, and further, she even asked her dad about it.
And so, at this point, do you say something to the man you think is your father,
Yes.
Mr. Fresneda? You ask him?
Yes, I had told him, I said, Dad, there's this guy named Ladner Thompson that had reached out to me on Facebook and saying that he's my dad. And my dad was like, what's his name again? And then I said Ladner Thompson. And then he had said kind of the same story that my Aunt Felicia told me years ago. He had came around saying that he was my dad, but my mom was saying no, and he loved my mom so much.
It seems now Mr. Thompson's claim had some potential, but even if he believed he was the real father, he would see the mother-daughter in the town they lived in, but never tried for a DNA test. Now it was time to know Mr. Fresneda's point of view in this story.
And like he says, on more than one occasion, and she always said to me that Jasmine was my firstborn. And that was good enough for me, Your Honor. We went on and had 4 more children after that, and they all belong to me, okay? Now my point I'm trying to make in here, Your Honor, that I wish that he would have addressed me before he sent her a Facebook or whatever. I know he couldn't be able to find me because we had no contact with each other. He lives in one town and I live in another.
So both the men knew about each other. That's interesting. But even if they knew that something was wrong behind the curtains, it should have been addressed timely, and that's exactly what Ms. Robinson argued about it, because she was hurt by this situation.
Now, earlier in the case, you mentioned your Aunt Felicia. Your Aunt Felicia is your mother's sister.
Yes,
You said you were trying to get answers from her.
yes.
Now, she's here in court to testify. Who did your late sister name as the father?
Mr. Fernazzo.
So, Mr. Fresneda,
Vanessa.
Mr. Fresneda
Yes.
was always the father that her late mother named.
I feel her pain. Her whole life has become a lie now, and it wasn't easy for her to accept it. As much as it was hard for her to understand, the judge brought in her aunt to testify, and she agreed to Mr. Thompson's claim very quickly.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so you attributed that to the fact that Mr. Thompson could potentially be her biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when you addressed your sister, she maintained that Mr. Fresneda was her child's biological father, and there was no question in her mind.
Absolutely.
And so you let it go.
Yes, his name is Ladner. I said, and I look at Ladner, I see Ladner.
Now all the arrows were pointing in Mr. Thompson's direction. Then, the plaintiff asserted that it was important for him that all of his kids and grandchildren should have a bond with one another, and shared that his kids were friends with Ms. Robinson, to which she agreed.
Don't know. I want to know.
You walked in today convinced that Mr. Fresneda was your biological father because that's what you were told, and that's what you grew up understanding. As you listen to the testimony today of Mr. Thompson, of your own aunt, your mother's sister, does this in any way change your perspective?
Yeah, because I don't know. I'm confused.
I can contest that we're all confused. We don't know. And that's why we're here today, to find out the truth.
Now with all the testimonies, we pretty much knew where this would go. But still, the real father's name was sealed in that envelope. And to get this truth out, finally, the judge was ready to read the results.
The biological father is Mr. Thompson. You are her father.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
You're all right.
I'm sorry.
Second timers were here in the court. Ms. Wilson claimed her ex-husband was busy playing house with a new girlfriend while he denied their firstborn. However, Mr. Wilson and his girlfriend denied this obviously, but also used color adjectives for the plaintiff.
Listen, you are back in my courtroom because after originally denying your son, your soon-to-be ex-husband is now denying your firstborn daughter, Peyton. You say Mr. Wilson is nothing but a deadbeat who has abandoned you and your children in order to play house with his new little girlfriend and baby. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Baby was clearly furious with the defendant, and she made the defendant know how she felt too. Apparently, she had been raising the 3 kids alone all by herself, and that was not right at all.
So I don't know why he's trying to deny them now.
And you're raising all the children
Yes, Your Honor.
by yourself?
Yes, Your Honor.
No help from Mr. Wilson, your husband?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Wilson, you don't believe you're Peyton's biological father?
No, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
And I have
whenever
reasons,
he
Your Honor.
does see them, though, I have to provide everything. I have to call him to beg him to see them, which I shouldn't have to do.
She's
That's
never
not my
called to
job.
beg him to see anybody.
The defendant claimed that baby mama's ex had fathered Peyton, and he was pretty confident about this. According to him, Ms. Wilson had not been too committed to their relationship, and he had instances to back up his claim as well.
Throughout our whole relationship, Your Honor, she cheated on me with this guy multiple times. Multiple times. And
that's a lie, Your Honor. I cheated one time, and it really wasn't even cheating because we were not together. And I did get a hickey, and I'm gonna admit it. And I did lie about it, but
she just now told the truth right here, right now. It took
Just
that
in this
long.
moment?
no.
Took that long.
I've told the
This
truth
long.
the whole time.
Trust was completely lost between these guys. Yep, the baby mama just couldn't understand why this guy was doing this. His doubts appeared meaningless to her, but doubts are doubts. Moreover, the start to their relationship wasn't too great either.
Let's make sure, you know what I'm saying?
I left my ex to be with him. So, I mean, it was 2 weeks before
She just admitted that
me
she
and
left
him
this
got
guy
together.
for me.
Well, what it's saying to me is she slept with two guys in the window of conception.
No, I had Peyton in November. We got together in November. You tell me how the heck I can be pregnant for a year, and that's what he's trying to say.
So you're saying the timeline doesn't add up?
It don't.
Time for the exhibit, presented by Mr. Wilson. It was a text exchange between baby mama and the other potential baby daddy, as claimed by Mr. Wilson. Ms. Haley denied it outright, stating it wasn't her who texted this. Interesting response.
States that he looks just like you. Look at her feet, her eyes, her ears. She's sent pictures of Peyton to this man, and right away, right off the rip, he said, she's not mine. He denied her from the beginning. She said, do you want to get a DNA test? He said no. If she was 100% sure that I was the father, why would she be texting another man talking about my alleged daughter looks like him?
That was not me. That was a family member that did that.
What motive does your family member have to spread these kind of lies?
DNA or no DNA, baby daddy did feel about little Peyton. There was a bond between them, but even that didn't propel him to actively participate in her life. The girlfriend was too eager to justify that. But that wasn't enough, and Judge Lake blew up at these guys.
And I keep hearing testimony about how we don't have any money, how we don't have any food, and how we're struggling. Why do we keep making babies and you can't take care of them?
Make a bunch of babies, it's not. I mean,
I think it is.
Whether you say it's your intention or not to go out there and make a bunch of babies, you've gone out there and made a bunch of babies, potentially. And this is very real because at the end of the day, you're learning the lessons that those of us who have children, and we know this each and every day, these children gotta eat.
Oh, these people definitely needed to grow up themselves before taking responsibility for growing babies of their own. The fate of little Peyton was at stake, and like every other child, she deserved to have a father in her life. Let's see if she gets to have one today.
Wilson versus Wilson. When it comes to 2-year-old Peyton, Mr. Wilson, you are the father. You got to grow up before you can step up, and we got to grow up.
The plaintiff brought the baby mama to court after she ended up tilting his world right off its axis. In the electrifying world of paternity disputes, we have Mr. Lloyd and Ms. Rayleigh, all ready to fight out this paternity battle.
Mr. Lloyd, you are in court today to prove that you are the biological father of the defendant's 1.5-year-old daughter, Courtney Marie Grimes. You claim the defendant led you to believe that you were the father only to have a bomb dropped on you that another man was her dad. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
A love triangle that would even make our dear Shakespeare blush. Baby mommy, the mastermind it seemed, was phenomenal at juggling. Her objects of choice were, though, rather peculiar, and so the drama begins.
Let's start from the beginning. I want to understand the nature of this relationship. So you were in a relationship with somebody else when you met Mr. Lloyd, or were you in a relationship with Mr. Lloyd and met somebody else?
I had just recently got out of a relationship when I had met Mr. Lloyd. Of course, I was ending my last relationship with the other party.
All right, so then you had finished the other relationship, or you were still kind of seeing this other guy?
We had just ended.
Ah, the doubts and reservations, the beautiful aspect of every relationship. Dear God. So the defendant dropped the bomb on the baby daddy, claiming he might not be the dad. Ouch, that sure must have hurt. Her Ellaby Tho, the Super Bowl. And so the guessing game began.
Like, this your baby. It's like, was she like 3-4 months pregnant?
Do you remember this dinner meeting, Miss Rayleigh?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you all cleared the air and told Mr. Lloyd there's no doubt you are the father?
Yes, Your Honor.
So why is it all of a sudden 3 months, 2 months before the baby's born, you tell him he's not the father.
Well, Your Honor, I was 9 weeks pregnant when I found out I was pregnant. That's when the doubting and everything started. I said, well, 9 weeks ago, I wasn't with Mr. Lloyd at all.
So how did the baby mama end up pregnant? It's like a reality TV plotline. Baby daddy's excitement, though, soon turned to confusion, with capital C. After the big revelation, he left, but still the defendant had someone at the hospital with her. And don't forget the baby name crisis as well. That was interesting and one for the ages.
He didn't need to be there if he's not the dad. So that's why Mr. Grimes.
But what the dots I'm trying to connect are, when you told him he was the father, he accepted he was the father, but you say that this window between Mr. Grimes and Mr. Lloyd is only a span of 2 to 3 weeks anyway, right?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Or 4. Yeah, 3 to 4 weeks.
I didn't even know the baby got born. I had to find out on Facebook.
The window of conception becomes a blurry mess. No surprise there. Was it Mr. Lloyd or Mr. Grimes? Nobody knew for sure, and so the baby daddies took the matter into their own hands. And like a suspenseful movie, full of twists, they did a sting operation.
Actually,
We
Your Honor,
drove
they
up
pulled
to
up on me. I was like, okay, so both of them asked me in the car together. They in the car together. I'm with another friend. Who's the daddy, Chantel? So I said, okay, Curtis, you're the sperm donor, and Mr. Lloyd is the one who'll be there for her. You know, and at the time, that's what the situation
So wait
was.
a minute, the 2 potential fathers get together, you all get together.
Yeah, just
and decide y'all gonna do a sting operation.
The drama escalated as the other baby daddy, Mr. Grimes, shared his version of the events. Desperation was the name of the game here, people, and the tension, so thick. Now the second baby daddy had doubts as well. Apparently, the baby looked like both of them. Oh yeah!
Pregnancy been playing both sides. 1 minute Corey the daddy, next minute I'm the daddy. Corey about to spend some money on the baby, he the daddy. Like, we both still seeing her to this day, you know? So
You both still seeing her.
we both still seeing Courtney. I mean, he been to Memphis more than me. I've been to Memphis 1 time. He been down there 3-4 times. But Shantia not telling me that.
So you saying this is supposedly your biological child with your last name, but this other man has been to see the child more than you.
So, neither of the baby daddies was supporting baby Courtney. Did you find that surprising? Because I sure didn't. However, the plaintiff was ready to support the baby. On the other hand, you would be surely surprised to know how many kids Mr. Grimes was supporting at the mere age of 23. Dear God! In the heat of the moment, baby mama ended up saying something ignorant. Yikes!
Have you helped with this child?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have. Mr. Grimes, she has your last name. Have you been helping to support Courtney since she's been born?
Man, I'm gonna tell you like I told Shantia. I told Shantia when Corey, Mr. Lloyd get out of her life, I told her give me blood, I give her baby love, basically. I'm tired of her playing both sides. I got 6 other kids that I gotta worry about. She's not finna keep playing with this kid. If Courtney minds, Courtney makes 7.
These guys were just playing the age-old blame game. Ms. Riley broke down and poured her heart out. Yes, girl, let it all out in the court. And while she did that, Mr. Grimes had the nerve to interject. Come on, man.
That he's not the father. I never told him that he wasn't the father at all. And to hear him say this in court today, he would never, ever speak to me again unless it's about our children. And that's it. It's no more going back and forth, because I have been going back and forth with these two for too long. And it's time for it to end. Either I'm gonna be one of them or neither one of them.
Keep your legs closed, you won't go through this.
The moment we've all been waiting for. These guys were on the edge of their seats. All eyes were on the envelope. Is it Mr. Lloyd or Mr. Grimes? We are about to find out. Let's take a look at what Destiny planned for the baby.
In the case of Lloyd versus Rayleigh, the biological father is Mr. Lloyd.
Y'all, congratulations, but you're done. I knew it from the start, you done, bro.